Hello, my netdeckers. The Rare Hunter is back with some more BSS content. This weekend was the Palm Springs Grand Open. I think it was like a 25K tournament. First place got 7K. I think second got 3K. I managed to go 6-2 and day two. Day two is a top 16 cutoff, basically single elimination bracket, where I got paired up against my good friend and testing partner, Spencer Freeman. We test a lot of Flesh and Blood and Battle Spirits together, or at least we theorize about Battle Spirits. And he knocked me out in the top 16, and then he eventually fell in the top 8. But I played White Aggro for this weekend, and I'm going to show you guys my deck. I think I did pretty well. I think all of the credit to this deck would go to my good friend Kenny. You've probably seen him from my other video about, I think his top 32 for the launch event. And he's been doing all the testing because I've been at Pro Tour Baltimore the previous weekend for Flesh and Blood, and haven't had any time to test. And so I think I just kind of defaulted to what he believed was the best deck for this tournament, and I would agree, it was pretty good deck choice. He won our local, launch event with a very similar deck, probably had some tweaks in the end, and I'm gonna show you guys what we used. So we pretty much both used the same deck. I think he went 5-3 and missed top 32, and our friend Sean bubbled his last round, lost his winning in, so he went 4-4 and missed top 32 as well. But overall, I think we did pretty well. So starting off, we've got our 4 automatic gunner. He's just a free guy. We're playing all 8 of the 1-cost cards. The important thing about this is really just white aggro. You're just trying to swarm the board, and you're just playing all the 1-cost cheap cards. They're free to play if you have another white card on the field, and the relevant effect for Mechawing Duck came up once or twice, I think, over in the tournament, where if you're dream bombing on their turn, then you get to ramp onto your Mechawing Duck. And automatic gunner matters because at level 2 with 3 cores, he can help. He dodges Burning Force, which is some decks' tools to deal with the swarm. I'd say the whole point of this deck was that we felt like it was good into dinos, and we also felt like our white control matchup was very good, because being aggressive in the white mirror is pretty good. And I think those were, why we made a lot of these deck choices. 4 Bullet Ray, 4 Head Snow Librarian, and 4 Satellite Falcon. So these are just also, so we had the 8 1-drops, and then we have the 12 2-drops. These are just all of your early drops in white that we just play all of them. They all have their own really good individual uses. Satellite Falcon is just a free 2-cost, so if you have 2 white spirits on board, he's just free. And his stats do matter. Same thing, leveling him up to level 2 helps you dodge Burning Force. Has no Librarian, I would say is one of the best 2-drops in the deck. I would say probably a really good turn 1 or 2 play, because her ability activates when she blocks as well. Main thing is that her ability comes in handy very, very often, because you attack with it and then you re-buy your soul core from your trash, and that allows you to play Regain, which is a spell that, or I guess a magic card, that's what it's called. It allows you to play magic Regain for free. Gives you the core to pay for it. And overall, on the attack, she automatically pumps herself up to 4,000 or 5,000, depending on what level she is. And again, dodges Burning Force, so it's pretty good. And I think Bullet Ray, surprisingly, Bullet Ray Cyrus is perhaps the best statted 2-drop vanilla we have, I think, currently in the first set. The 2 core investment, so I guess 4 cores total on turn 1 for 5,000 is pretty huge. And I think the only other play that's better than this is turn 1 Dino Man. So Bullet Ray is very strong, low core commitment for a 5,000 body, helps you go tall, again, to play around Burning Force. But yeah, all of these drops, all of these white spirits have their own uses, and I think they were all relevant in their own ways. For our 3 drops, we play 4 Pegacyone and 4 Snowflaken. This was a conscious decision. Like, obviously, okay, so we'll start with Pegacyone. The best part about Pegacyone is armor red and purple. This is perhaps one of your best spirits to have into dinos, into purple. Very relevant protection. Also, even into white, this is perhaps the best turn 2 play, or going second play. Just a very good offensive and defensive card. Being able to you can just always attack with it if you are at level 2 and he has a soul core, and you can just immediately block against other go wide strategies. So I don't know, I think this is perhaps your best spirit. White has a lot of relevant spirits, surprisingly, to build this aggro deck, and I think Pegacyone is probably one of the best ones. Being able to go up to 7,000 is also pretty relevant in the purple matchup. So we played this even in our purple deck in the side at the launch event, and I think still pretty good. I would rate him perhaps the best white spirit we have, and then Bullet Ray perhaps the second. Snowflaken, this was a conscious decision to not run the tank card. I don't remember. It was the 3-drop tank that had 2 reduction, similar to this. But the main thing was, I expected to run into a lot of dinos after the launch event. I think dinos is perhaps the best aggro deck, because it's very flexible. You can play draw spells, you can play Burning Force, you have really big stats with Dino Man. Your couple of nexus that you have are kind of relevant. Overall, just a really consistent deck that was able to put out a lot of power, and Tim Rivera was able to win the whole Grand Open with dinos. So kind of just like a testament to how strong the deck is. I just wanted to hedge against it a little more. I felt like the mech tank was very useful. It protects your mechas when you are attacking, I believe, in your attack step. But I feel like they could just main phase Burning Force your guys, and then you're not really getting much value out of it. Whereas Snowflaken, having the armor red means they can't target it with Burning Force, and I can regain 2 of them and just finish the dino players off. Being able to block Dino Man is very relevant. Having some application to block and bounce curse guys against purple is also relevant. So this was just like a card that I really wanted to side, but in order to create more sideboard space, I moved to the main. This is just a conscious, meta decision. I think moving forward, the tank perhaps would be good if you are expecting more purple decks, which I think, I played against Spencer in the top 16, and I think the tank would have been perhaps more useful. Certain decks also, they don't want to actively use their magic cards in the main phase, so I think I can see the uses for the tank. But again, this weekend we were prepping for dinos, and we wanted more extra sideboard slots, so Snowflaken was very good. And I think, if we had more space, it could definitely come up. We have 3 Emperadore for 4 drops, and perhaps one of the best white spirits, Valkyrie Mist. I guess we'll just go over Emperadore really quickly. This is just a strictly better version of the other 4-cost vanilla that we have. They have basically the exact same stats, 4 cost, 3 reduction, along with level 1 4,000, level 2 7,000. But then you also have like a random 6-core dump, 9,000 power. With the thing being like, we're not playing the mecha tank, so we don't get the benefits of having an extra mecha card, and therefore we just played this. I think it was fine. I feel like this was kind of like an easy side out card. I just wanted another card, or Kenny felt like it was just good to have an extra body, and I agree. This felt like it was an easy side out card in some games, because the main thing is that the reduction makes it pretty cheap. It's a 1 core to play and 1 core to maintain if you have 3 other spirits. And playing white aggro, you are trying to build up an early board. So, you know, this just has a pretty decent stats for that. And I think 3, so that you only see basically like maybe 1 a game. In my top 16 game, in game 3, I drew 2 in the same hand, which was kind of bad in the opening hand. And so these cards definitely has some downsides. I know Admasu played like 4 and 2, like 4 of the 4-cost mecha and 2 of the Emperadores. I think that's totally, you know, totally makes sense. You're just not going to lose to Burning Force. But for us, we felt like this spirit was just an extra filler. Maybe we could change it in the future. I did consider like Icemaid Mark II for the armor, I think yellow and purple, but it only had 1 reduction, so that was why we weren't really playing it. But Valkyrie Mist, this is the best card. This is one of your best cards. And I think the main thing was this card is good in aggro, it's good in mid-range, it's good in control. Like, being able to bounce a 7 cost or lower is the defining characteristic of white. Destroying cards like Burning Force, Deadly Balance, even, they're kind of situationally good, right? Like, if they have something that's greater than 3,000, Burning Force is just dead. If they, you know, have multiple spirits on board, you might not be able to Deadly Balance the spirit that you want. But Valkyrie Mist and cards like Dream Bomb, like being able to bounce cards, return cards to the owner's hand, is targeted. It just like gets rid of the threat, and you just out tempo your opponents. It does not matter. Like, if I'm able to play out my 6-card hand and they still have 6 cards in their hand at the end of the game after I win, that is how I love winning in card games. Like, aggro and out tempoing your opponents. And if you've played Duel Masters or Kaijudo, this is just Aqua Resolve, right? Like, just play a guy, bounce it, even has haste. And so this is probably my favorite card in the deck, and every time you see it, she's going to be winning you the game. I think there are some times where you see like multiple Valkyrie Mists and like no other spirits. That's perhaps the only time she's bad, but being a 1 cost, 1 cost to play, 1 cost to maintain, so 2 cores that can get rid of a blocker and also attack, makes her very, very valuable. And I think when playing white aggro, you look at your first opening hand of 4. If you see Valkyrie Mist, I think it is fine to go second, because having the bounce effect means that your opponent will commit to their board and you can Valkyrie Mist them. Even if you go first, you play out your threat, they play out their threat, you bounce it. She's just always good. And you definitely want to see 1, maybe even 2 of her in every game. So, and for our last spirits in the main, we have 3 Dirm Dyna. I think this card is not so great. I think this was our last few slots we're kind of deciding on. ultimately, we decided to play Dirm Dyna because it's just unblockable is really hard to beat, and it's your late game finisher. Very good against white control, very good against purple, very good against red, very good against yellow. So I would say it's not great against white control. I take that back. But if they do play a Nexus, or if you play your own Nexus, this is a finisher that they can't deal with. And so great against most decks, but overall very expensive to play. And sometimes when you commit your board to push them to a low life total, which I'll talk about the deck philosophy in a bit, you probably will get your board chumped, like eaten, and then, or maybe even like your board will be wiped. And so you will most likely play Dirm Dyna at full cost, and it's very hard to, like, you need 8 cores to play this at full cost, along with being able to remove a soul core. So you need 9 cores if your board is empty to attack with unblockable. That is really expensive, and I think people are kind of, they're playing better now. It's not the launch event anymore, and people will suspect that if you're playing white, you might have Dirm Dyna. If you're playing an aggro deck, you might just have Dirm Dyna, and so they're not playing their Nexus. If they do though, you just steal a win, and it's still like one of the better top ends. I think a case can be made for, originally we had Elk, but we don't really, we're not playing Ice Shield in this deck, so Elk is not as good, I would say, and you could perhaps just play more Spirits, but we chose to play this. Moving forward, I think perhaps we can cut some number of this and just move it to the side. I think it could be anything. It could be like just more threats like Icemaidens. It could be more 4-drop vanillas to make your hands more consistent. But I think Dirm Dyna is not nearly as good. And there were many games where I was like, oh, I just need a Dirm Dyna to win, and I don't draw it. Or, oh, I'm drawing 2 of it, and now my opponent doesn't have a Nexus. So it's very hit or miss. But good enough for this tournament, I'd say. Moving on to the, what's it called? The Magic cards. We have Regain, which I was heavily underrating initially. This only costs 1 to play if you have 3 spirits on board, which is very, very, very easy. A lot of the play pattern of this deck is playing out 3 guys, bouncing one of their guys. So you have your board, they have nothing. You will always have your spirits to regain, and double regain with 4 guys pretty much just kills them, or maybe even 3 guys, right? So if you play other card games, I kind of think of regain as like maybe Book of Moon, maybe Lightning Bolt. This card is good on the offense, good on the defense. It can untap your guy to surprise block one of your opponents. It could be used as a burn spell. I like using this a lot to pressure and put my opponent down to 1, which again I'll explain later in perhaps like a deck philosophy of this deck. We have 4 Suppression. I think this card perhaps this card was not the best for me this weekend. It's had its highs and it has its lows. We'll just say that. In my top 16 game, I opened 2 Suppressions in my game 1, and against purple, that's just a completely dead card. So basically, I played with a 4-card hand going first, and I couldn't beat Spencer because if these 2 were just spirits, he would have been dead. He had nothing else. But instead, I basically had no other cards. I don't remember if I opened 1 and I drew 1, or I opened 2 and I kept the hand anyway, but that was probably a mistake, and I probably should have mulliganed there. But the main thing is, this card is very good against dinos. This is your Ice Shield that also has applications on the offense. It is giant growth. It pumps your guy by 3,000. It can surprise block. It can trade. In some matchups, you need to trade with your opponent to keep your spirits on board. and Suppression does a very good job with that. This card is very crucial in like White Aggro Mirror. It is crucial to have interaction, and this is just what we have. And it combos very well with Elk in the side, so I think this card is just very flexible, and I think perhaps you can just play 3 of it, but with our plan of, you know, facing dinos and hedging for other aggro matchups. Yeah, I think 4 was fine for me for this weekend, but moving forward, I can see having only 3 in the main, maybe less. I'm still not completely decided on that. And the last 4 cards of the deck, perhaps the best card in the format right now, for Dream Bomb. I guess that's a really bold statement to make because the format ultimately really relies on who sees the Ice Shield. And Ice Shield against White Aggro is very strong, but you could push through it. Dream Bomb, however, I think it's a burst that you pretty much almost never set because the active ability, the main ability, or sorry, the flash ability and the main ability is so much more valuable. Dream Bombing their big threat, Dream Bombing an elephant, Dream Bombing a Gigano, having them replay a threat, a big threat, is very tempo positive for you. And so this is the card when I played against it, played with it in white control, I was like, this card is just way too powerful. Removes any threat, unless they have armor white. But yeah, Dream Bomb was very, very good. And I think the reason to play white aggro over the other colors is because you have heavy cost reduction for some of the best magic cards in the game. Dream Bomb, Ice Shield, Suppression, like I know the Dino decks play Suppression even, Regain, like these are some of the best magic cards in the game, and that is like perhaps the biggest reason to play white aggro over maybe even dinos or, you know, purple aggro or yellow aggro. But yeah, so that's the main deck. We have a really quick side. We have 3 Fullas. She's just your side against purple. We originally had 4, and I think Kenny did play 4. But I took 1 out so that I could play an extra Ice Shield or something, I don't remember. She makes it so that you can't get your cores removed. I played it against Spencer and it felt okay, but for the most part, because I was only playing 3, I had a lot of problems of like not seeing it against purple. And so, you know, I feel like she's just okay, but with the double cost reduction, it makes her pretty bearable, I guess. And then we have 3 Ice Shields and 2 Elks. This is mainly extra hedge against the white control deck. Turns out it was actually really good against dinos. In my last round of Swiss on day 1, I hate to admit this, but I top decked my 1 Elk, and then I top decked a Suppression to kind of lock up the game. Again, I'll explain my deck philosophy a little after this sideboard, but Elk is very good against dinos, as I found out later, and very good against white control. Like, the idea was we felt like if you play like a tempo style or aggro style in the white mirror, because you're going to be ahead on like a couple life, Elk can finish the game and you will end up winning the game because you took on that extra damage early. And then Ice Shield combos well with Elk, but also you want it against the other aggro decks. So purple, aggro, dinos. You don't need it game 1, but I would definitely, moving forward, play 1 to 2 just to make them respect it, and maybe just have like 1 Ice Shield so that you have 5 bursts, and your opponent will just have to respect you if you place this down as a burst, right? If you place a Dream Bomb down as a burst, maybe it's an Ice Shield. They'll never know. But I think it was fine for this weekend because we felt like game 1 we wanted to be the most consistent and just rush them down, and then game 2, if it's an aggro deck, we want the Ice Shield. If it's control, we don't want this. So, and the last two cards to the side, pretty controversial. Kenny ultimately really wanted, what's it called? He really wanted a Nexus for Dirm Dyna. For our own Dirm Dyna, because, you know, we know that our opponents are probably not going to play into our Dirm Dyna, so we got to turn them on in games 2 and 3. This was just the one that we picked. I don't think any of the other white Nexus are that great either. This is kind of a filler slot, and I really wanted to play Counter Swords instead. But I think I played it once against Spencer. Didn't matter at all. But the cost reduction was why we chose to play a white Nexus. Perhaps a different color Nexus might be better in a future build we're working on. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. But yeah, I think maybe if these were Counter Swords, I would have had a better time against purple. So yeah, that's the deck. I'm going to go over some of my matchups throughout the day. In the first round, I played against Alex. I think he actually got second at the launch event. And I didn't really want to like seem like I was a fish, if that made sense, in the match, but I did feel very nervous playing him in my first round because I've played like 3 games of this deck prior to this tournament, and I was busy playing Flesh and Blood. And even though I was playing other big tournaments, like I was pretty nervous playing BSS. I feel like looking at the cards for the first time, in a sense, for the tournament, I was like, man, there's so many numbers on these cards. I'm so nervous. And I felt like I was playing a little slow, but I knew, and he knew, that we weren't going to go into time. So he was very like kind and understanding of that. But I was like, he did ask me, he was like, oh, you know, how long have you been playing? And I was kind of just like, I mean, I've played not that long. I've played at the launch event, but it was like, I haven't played that many games of BSS in comparison. But I might have seemed like a fish, I guess, like someone, perhaps like a newer player against him. And then I ended up taking him down 2-1 because I think his draws were pretty poor, but also I think like this deck is pretty favored into Dino. And but yeah, I just, you know, he was very very kind and understanding to play against. Round 2, I played against White Aggro. Apparently this player was actually local to Vegas, and it was my first time meeting him. It was kind of cool. We played the White Aggro mirror. I think he won game 1, I won game 2, and then game 3 it kind of came down to I was going for the kill. I think he might have misplayed, but he thought he could block with his Pegacyone with the Soul Core, but the Pegacyone needed to be level 2, and so he wasn't able to block, and he wasn't able to go for the kill on his turn initially, so I kind of just killed him on the crackback, and that was the White Aggro mirror. It feels like this deck plays on very, very thin margins. You can cheese a lot of players, and you can also just go for it and they have the Ice Shield and you're just sad. But it definitely feels like this deck, you have to play very tight, and it capitalizes on players stumbling. Round 3, I played against Purple Aggro. My opponent was, his name I would think was Carlos, and he was perhaps just like the cleanest Purple Aggro player I've ever played against. Like he knew every little interaction. Not to say like I know every little interaction, I guess. I don't, but I feel like when he Beldegor looped me, I was like, man, I'm just getting demolished in this matchup. But I think ultimately it came down to him playing a Nexus, and then I had the Dirm Dyna to go for the kill. That was pretty much it. Round 4, I played against Tim Rivera on Dinos. So my second Dino matchup, and I won game 1 pretty easily, but games 2 and 3, I think he had double Dino Man both times. And I was just like, man, how do you deal with 2 6K bodies that early? So that card is so unfair. If it was a 5,000 beat stick, it would still be fine. I mean, like, the card would be fine. It would still be good, right? But, like, the fact that there's 6,000, you're just like, geez. He beat me in games 2 and 3, and then he ended up I think, winning the whole thing. So huge congrats to him. I actually think he's the Vegas Global, and I'm going to try to get a deck profile with him if I can, but no promises, everyone. But yeah, round 5, I played against, I think Aspira. He was playing white control, splashing yellow for Hippogriff, the one that when you deal damage, it has lifelink, you gain a life. And also, I think red for Flamefish and card draw and perhaps Raining Force. I'm not 100% sure. I think the deck looked pretty impressive. I was always not a fan of Star Blast draw and charge draw in the white deck because paying the full 4 to draw a card feels bad, and putting it in the burst, if they're a white mirror, you're pretty much never going to get your Star Blast draw off. So, I don't know. I was not really a big fan of Star Blast draw, but with the red Nexus that he played, the one that loots cards at the start of the turn, and also Flamefish, I was like, okay, paying 2 for Star Blast was pretty good. I think ultimately I beat him 2-0. First game, it was like a non-game. He drew complete crap. He mulliganed, still drew crap. Game 2, I think he perhaps made like a little greedy play, and I capitalized off of it, where he attacked with his Armor Dragon. I chumped. He attacked with another dude, put me down to 1. Attacked, or maybe no. I think I blocked with my Pegacyone that had like 7 cores. I don't freaking remember. And then he attacked with his Hippogriff, and I was like, I can actually regain here to restand the Pegacyone. The Hippogriff had like 3 cores, so I couldn't block it. But I restood the Pegacyone, blocked the Hippogriff, I think ate it in battle, and then I think he realized maybe he punted that game because Pegacyone can still block his Flamefish with 1 core. And then I just kind of killed him on the crackback with 3 spirits. But he was, again, another very pleasant experience playing. So far, I mean, I would say, like, in my first 5 rounds, all of the players I played against were very, very nice and very chill games. I don't think, there's anything wrong. So I'm really happy with that. Round 6, I played against Dinos again. It was a quick 2-0, but I think my draws were just pretty good. I don't think there was anything too particularly special about that matchup. Round 7, I played against another purple aggro, but this one it was like an 0-2 loss. I think game 1 I got rolled, and then game 2 I think I went for the kill, misplayed. My opponent then attacked me once but didn't kill me on the crackback because I had like 4 cards in hand, but I had no interaction really to stop him. And then I had the Dirm Dyna, and I was trying to play around Deadly Balance, but I killed off my vanilla guy instead of my Pegacyone. So I had Pegacyone plus Dirm Dyna. And I was trying to play around Deadly Balance, but then I realized, and he told me, it's like, oh, you can't sack Pegacyone because it has armor purple. So I had to sack my own Dirm Dyna. I could have literally just played around it the other way, where I just had 4 cores on Dualgun Dirm Dyna, right? And I choose Dirm Dyna for Deadly Balance, and then it survives with its level 2 effect. So I think I just tried too hard to like play around Deadly Balance, but I just lost because of that. So that's how I just lost 0-2 and didn't even get a chance for game 3. And then round 8, played against Dinos again. It was a 2-1 victory, but I think it was like I win game 1, he wins game 2. Game 2 went like pretty long. Like we both had, I don't know, close to 8 to 10 spirits on board, and I couldn't really break through, and he finished me off. And then game 3, I went for the kill, or putting him down pretty low, and he had the ice shield, but he couldn't pay for it. He had 3 cores and then 1 core on his guy. He didn't want to sacrifice his guy to ice shield. And so I was able to continue attacking. And I was able to continue attacking, and then so I went for the last attack, with the regain, and I think he had Ice Shield in hand, paying the 3 cores along with killing his onboard spirit. At that point, I was like, I'm kind of ahead, but you know, I gotta finish the game. Eventually, he builds up his spirit board, but I top deck Elk plus Suppression, and I was like, man, I really needed to top deck those 2 cards in those last 2 turns to pretty much secure my victory, even though I was at 5 life. And that was like one of the closest games I had for day 1. And then in the top 16, playing against Spencer, game 1, I opened double Suppression and threats. I put him to 1, but I can't finish him off because I'm basically starting with -2 cards in my hand. Game 2 was perhaps the best stream game. I think if you could find it on YouTube, if Bandai uploaded it, that was like one of the best games I've played, and it showed that like White Aggro is able to win like a turn 15 game just by building up a huge board. My opponent has a huge board, and I knew he had like, I think it was like Purple Smoke or Purple Rain, the burst that kind of makes you pay 1 core in order to attack, because what's it called? It was open Decklist. But I think I had to wait for a long time to build up like multiple cores on my guys and draw like multiple Dream Bombs, draw Valkyrie, and I was able to push through, and I had double regain to finish the game off. So he actually scooped before all of that happened. So the stream might not have caught it, but I had the double regain as well, just to ensure the victory. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But game 3, we didn't want to go into time. I didn't want to go into time. I kept a 10 with double Emperadore. That might have been a mistake. But then like he opened double Deadly Balance Beldegor, and he was very excited about his hand. So like I don't think I would have won with any of my hands, to be quite honest. And yeah, honestly, we wanted to finish our games quick and record our deck profiles. That would have been sweet because I could have gotten Spencer's deck profile and mine. But game 2 took so long, and I was like, man. I mean, game 1 even took so long because I was like, man, just kill me. Because I had nothing, and you know, I couldn't finish him off, and he stabilized. But unfortunate. I think it would have been interesting to see how far I could have gone, but you know, I'm pretty happy with my performance. Going 6-2 in day 1, perhaps could have gone 7-1 if I played a little tighter. And you know, it just sucks playing against your friend in the first round of elimination, I guess. For winning, I got surprises. I got this nice top 16 mat. I think this features some white artwork, some like holy elixir or something, I don't really know. One of the sea worms, I think, Pentan and Beldegor. This is a pretty cool mat. Got another one of these life counter things. Got a winner's pack that I might just open. Another one of these soul core cases, and 7 event packs. This video is kind of going long already, so I'm probably just not going to open everything, but I do want to open this for the camera, and I don't know, maybe put it back or collect all of it, put it in a binder. But man, these are basically all the cards that you can get, one of each of the event pack cards. But instead of the regular foil, they have like a gold trim on them. So these look beautiful. So here we got Nebula Dragon, Imperial Thunder Dragon Sea Worm, which I think is this card. There we go. I wasn't wrong. This is pretty cool. The Confront is pretty good. Demo Bones, Mummy Fant. This is a pretty sweet card. I know my friend Sean loves to say that this card triggers Beldegor, which is true. It's pretty good. Oh, I got another Mechawing Duck from my deck. Buffalong Bill. Sword Angel. Wow, this just looks really beautiful. Nice stamp. Freezatol. This, I mean, the yellow deck broke out this weekend. Like, I think there was 5 in the top 8, or top 16. Oviraptodon. Oh, Jesus. King Snake, Quetzal, Cuddle, I don't think many people are playing this card, but it does have a lot of text. Oh, another Icemaid Fulla. Spear Angel. Oh, that's it. But yeah, pretty cool. Oh yeah, I wanted to say, the philosophy for the deck. If you guys are still watching right now, please go and subscribe, like the video, comment with any questions that you do have. But the whole point of the white deck, I think, after playing it more, use your regains aggressively, put them to 1. If they're at 1, you're not going to lose to Ice Shield as easily. Unless, you know, they have a huge board, they can block and then Ice Shield from hand. But if you put them to 1, they can't Ice Shield from the burst zone, pretty much. Like, they're not going to get their life back, they can't activate it. So it's very important to put them to 1. And I like using my regains aggressively to put them to 1. And sometimes, you know, I think it's worth it to put them at a low life. And then we play cards like Dirm Dyna, we play cards like Elk. It's very easy to take that last point of life, especially with all like the bounce cards you have. So that is the key philosophy of the deck. If you are playing, I guess some of your best plays are literally like, you know, playing Guy, and then you playing Guy on turn 1, and then turn 2 you just go boom, boom, bounce with, I don't know. This is your ideal hand, right? Like boom, boom. Hit him with this on turn 1, turn 2, and play 2 free guys. Now you have this 1 and 1. This is 1 core, 2 core, 3 core, and then 4 and 5, right? So this is just like 4 life, right? Going first. If you have double regain, for example, you can attack with all these, sack one of your guys to pay for the regain. So you're still able to pay to regain for 1, but you're able to just kill them if they just play Nexus. Some other things, I guess, I mean, Dream Bomb can do very similar things, although it's a little more expensive. Bullet Ray is great. Snow Librarian, again, like attack, bring back your red soul core. Now you can regain without sacrificing your board. And then putting them to 1, ultimately, Dirm Dyna will come and clean up. So that is the main strategy of the deck. Playing a Snowflaken is all honestly pretty good as well. Just, you know, having it at level 4, you can stave off early aggro. But this might actually lead to some weird games if you're not playing out your threats and taking their life early. So I think I do prefer being more aggressive early. And I guess lastly, I would say if you can sandbag these, if you're not attacking with them that turn they're coming down, you can probably sandbag them. And if you have a hand, I would say like play priority on turn 1 would be, I would play a 3 cost or 4 cost. Oh no, sorry, you can't. If you're going first, I would prioritize playing one of these, because then these are so expensive to play, even though they have reduction, right? But like if I play this turn 1, this costs 3, I get my cores back on my turn 2. Now I don't have to pay 2 + 1 to play the Pegacyone. I can just pay less for my other cards, you know, 1 + 1 on this. So I like playing if I go first, I like playing my 3 costs first. And it's honestly fine dropping Bullet Ray on turn 1 and having 2 cores. 5,000 is pretty good. But in the end, like, you don't care if they give you more cores, you just kill them, right? Snow Librarian, also very good turn 1 and turn 2. Playing her turn 1, if they attack you, you can block and then she pumps herself. If you play her turn 2 on the offensive, she gives you regain options, she gives you Dream Bomb options. Just a solid card. Against Spencer, I had double Librarian on my final attacking turn. That gave me 2 resources, right? 2 cores. She pumps herself only if you bring back a soul core, but she also, what's it called? She also can bring back normal cores, but no pump. And yeah, just if you're planning on picking up this deck, I think this deck is really good. I think it's a very good deck choice for this weekend. So again, huge shout out to the Brains Kenny for the deck. I played against, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 dinos and 2 white variants and 2 purple variants. So, you know, the deck performed pretty well, and I think the losses were probably on me. I probably could have played tighter. You don't have to go for the kill if you don't think you have your bursts to back you up. Like, you don't have your dream bombs to back you up, or you don't have your ice shield to back you up. Be cognizant of ice shield, playing against ice shield, and yeah. I might change some cards for this deck moving forward. But overall, this is, like, I think, a pretty solid build. Had a great time with it. Had a great time at this BSS tournament. It was a lot smoother than the launch event, probably because there's less players. I would say moving forward, I think the tournament starts a little later, like starting at 11 might be a little, late, because once the players are done at 10 or 11 p.m., they can't really get food in most other places that aren't Vegas. Overall, we also had 2 30-minute breaks, which I think, like, perhaps wasn't really necessary. The first break was kind of nice because players were able to get lunch, and they had on-site catering that people could buy. But overall, I think, like, most tournament goers, I would say, are used to just starting at 8 or 9, finishing and getting done by like 6 or 7, and then now you can go back to your hotel rooms. You can go get your food. At least there will be options to eat. But I think starting later makes it harder for the players. But overall, thanks to, I think it was Bandai for the tournament and Play TCG for hosting it. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hope this was a informative video for everyone, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.